Welcome back. This is Dr. Jerry Doby with another episode of Doby Uncut. And today I've got Wayne Overstreet, a master of post production, film, television, award shows. Anyway, he's co founder of JaroGO Media, and they are creating a brand new creator ecosystem over there. It's quite the story. Check it out.
Hey, what's good, everybody? You know what it is. You know who it is. This is me, Dr. Jerry W. Here with another live session. And this evening, it is my distinct honor to talk to this creative force whose fingerprints can be found across 2 decades of film, television, and post-production excellence by the name of Wayne Overstreet. Now, he's helped shape the visual language of major networks, including TBS, TNT, Cartoon Network, Discovery, Lifetime, BET, Aspire, and more. He ain't done. He led, after leading Wolff Bros Post into the world of long form television and profile award shows. Wayne launched Overstreet Production and Post, handling projects for TV One, and the Rickey Smiley Show. Come on, I love the Rickey Smiley Show. In 2019, he partnered with veteran producer Len Gibson to form Go Media Productions, where together they have produced and distributed a slate of acclaimed films and television series. Wayne's expertise from concept to post-production delivery makes him an invaluable force behind today's most impactful storytelling. Wayne, it's a pleasure to have you with us, man.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be able to share the story of Jaro Go with you and your audience. So I've been looking forward.
Awesome. Awesome. Look, I got to start this off because you've done so much. And we, from the outside looking in, develop, our thoughts about people and personalities and executives from what we see since we don't know the nuts and bolts. So on the reflective side, from the inside looking out, drop the dime on and tell us what's happening with Wayne Overstreet and how you see Wayne.
I see myself as someone really passionate about making a difference in the industry, making a difference through storytelling, making a difference by being an asset to filmmakers, producers, storytellers in general, creatives, artists. Um, my passion for the industry is trying to help people move forward and take things to the next level. As I've had the blessing of working with some really high level networks and in the industry and seeing how they do things and how they operate. And I try to bring that knowledge and experience to the independent world.
Okay. Now, you spent 20 years shaping content across, like you said, some of the biggest networks in television. When you look back at your early days, because I always try to toss in this career trajectory. People say, "Oh, I want to be in front of the camera. I got to be in front of the mic." No, you don't. It's a lot of money to be made off camera behind the mic. But so you Wolff Brothers Post. So this for people who don't know, you'll get a chance to explain what Post is. But I know that it's the finished product, people who do the finished product.
Yeah.
And what drew you into post production and what kept you fascinated in with the craft?
Well, initially, I came in post-production as an entry point to film and television.
Mhm.
And it was kind of by happenstance. It wasn't my initial goal or objective to be in post-production, but I got several offers from post-production companies um, to come in not really an entry level position, but I was like in operations. So I came in as the second in command on operations at Wolf. And God is good because within 6 months, the person above me moved on, transferred to a Turner Broadcasting gig
Mhm.
at another company. And then I started at a company called Creative Chaos, and within 6 months, the person above me transferred to CNN. I became the head of operations at Creative Chaos, and within 6 months, Wolff Brothers called me, and I left and went to Wolff Brothers because the general manager left to travel the world. I can't make this up. And so they made me and her assistant the GMs. And maybe 3 years in, her husband found his dream job, which is took her to Charlotte, and
Mm.
I became the general manager. And I was the general manager at Wolff Brothers for probably another 13, 14 years. Yeah.
You know, that's deep. Hold on. Talk about, people say, oh, look at God. You know, you get these opportunities, you get introduced, and then the other person goes, "Shh, I'm out." And you just elevate and you're there to feel this. Man, that's a career trajectory story for that.
Yeah, I always say when something's for you, it's for you. And
Roger that.
God tends to just move people out of the way or move situations in your favor. We were mainly a promo house. So we did all of the promo ads for, as you said, TBS, TNT. We brought Sex and the City from HBO to TBS. We launched Flapjack and Chowder and my gym partners at Monkey for Cartoon Network. We helped to launch the Gospel Music Channel, which became Uplifting Entertainment. We helped to launch Aspire TV. We did the upfront videos, the annual sales videos for a lot of those networks. And then in 2013, I was able to broker a deal to do all of the post production for the Soul Train Awards. And
Mm.
I went to Vegas. I was in the truck, and I saw the whole process unfold. And I realized at that time the tax credit had kicked in Georgia, and we did 4 billion in production that year. And I realized that the town was changing from a promo town to a full service production town. And I just felt like we couldn't be a major post facility and post production company and not move into that space.
Mm.
And after about a year of trying to, relay that message, it really, the Lord said to me, it's time for you to move and pursue this vision. So
Mm.
that's when I left and started Overstreet Production and Posts, and immediately was rewarded with um, Girlfriend's Getaway 2, the Rickey Smiley show, and it's always people in your life who bless you. The owners of Wolff Brothers were a blessing to me, and then Roger Bob really helped me a lot by bringing me um, several of his first original films that he did with TV One.
Okay. Okay. Now, post production can be high pressure. Now, I'm old enough to envision avid editing rooms and actual film and doing the cut and tape of reels together and stuff landing on the floor. Old, those are the
I
big.
don't go quite that far back, but we did have Avid Suites when
Uh-huh.
I started, and an Avid Suite was, it was the software was built into it. It was a hardware
Mhm.
device. So it was a computer with Avid software built into it.
Mhm.
And those were, 40 something thousand dollars each. So the average person couldn't get into the post-production world.
Mm.
You definitely had to have resources to be in that space, and you had to have equipment that allowed your different suites to communicate with one another. And those cost like $100,000. So, it's not like it is today where everybody can have editing software on their personal computer or even their phone.
Mhm.
The editing process was reserved for the professionals, as they said.
Mm. Now, post production can be really high pressure. If you're working with Quentin Tarantino and you're doing his post, that's got to be some sort of incredible pressure, like Atlas trying to hold up the globe. You know what I mean? But it's also incredibly creative. What part of post first clicked for you? Was it the technical precision, or the storytelling influence it gives you behind the scenes?
I think it was the attention to detail required. I've always been a detail-oriented person. So in post, you're the last eyes that see things before they go to broadcast.
Mhm.
So if there's a mistake in post-production, um, it potentially will make it to the air. There are QC procedures in place, but a lot of it lands on post to get it done. And so sometimes we would get stuff that we were finishing that day that aired that night on weekly shows. So we had to, they kind of used to tease me and say I dotted every I and crossed every T, but that's just that was where I thrived in making sure that the details were buttoned up, and that was the part of it I enjoyed. I
Mhm.
didn't actually sit in the chair and edit the material. I managed the people who did the editorial,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and I've kind of always been a manager, even
Okay.
as a
I
kid.
understand. I got it. I got it. You're like, oh, I'm not sitting in that Joker for 18 hours getting, I understand. I got you. But the buck stops with you as the manager. So, you know, obviously knowing all the nuts and bolts of what's going on and starting, in operations and all that good stuff. And then seeing like, nah, this is not gonna work. We got to go back and fix that. It's a responsible position in leadership. So another career trajectory in management, y'all, that we're exploring here. So you mentioned that recognize a major shift in Atlanta's post-production market. And you around the corner thinking you like, there's going to be a need here for this, and we gotta. So seeing that before most people saw it, what can you tell me specifically anything that you noticed and how that instinct um and made you the instinct to pivot helped shape the trajectory of your career to where you are at this point with your own house.
Yes. Well, I think the one of the things I noticed initially was the networks were starting to do more and more work in-house,
Hmm.
right? And then the technology was making it more and more efficient and more easily available to the masses, if you would. And so we did 30-second promos, 60-second promos, and you might, spend a week on a 60-second promo. Uh, and I realized, but we were getting tapes from LA where they had edited the full show, and then we cut that into promos. And I said, well, we got to get on the other end of this thing. And when there's tax incentives for production, for film and television production, I was like, we got to take advantage of where the industry is going and the state of Georgia is going with this tax incentive. And there was no tax incentive for post production at that time.
Mm.
So I said, we have to be a full-fledged production and post company. And that's when I left, I launched Overstreet Production and Post and began producing content as well as editing the content because you were getting cut off before it made it to post.
Mm. Okay. The move. So just to revisit really quickly when we're talking about management and leadership, right?
Hmm.
Um, the move into long format content was like this really bold transition for Wolff Brothers. The Soul Train Awards in 2013 ended up being one of BET's highest rated award shows, right?
Yes.
What did that breakthrough teach you about the scalability of your team and your own leadership?
Oh, it showed me that the sky was the limit,
Hmm.
right? Because the Soul Train Awards is a big production and it was done on a large scale. So I realized then that we could do it at that level. We could do the full 90-minute show, and it inspired me and motivated me to want to be involved in the entire creative process. Because when I went to Vegas and did the Soul Train Awards, I was there in the truck with the director calling the shots. I was there in the rehearsals, and it was Anthony Anderson was the host, and they did Circus Soleil, the Michael Jackson Circus Soleil. It was a big production, and I realized that what we do just scales. It's kind of like I was in the studio once with an engineer, and it was a 64 track console, and he said all it is a 4 track and a 4 track and a 4 track over. It just repeats. It
Hmm.
was the same thing that just repeats to 64 tracks. So I realized then that no matter how large something appears, it's really what you've already been doing on a larger scale. So you just apply the same mechanism,
Mm.
and that allowed me to trust in my ability to do it and not be intimidated by the scale of the project.
Okay, okay, okay. I like that. Courage, the leap of faith. So, leap of faith. After 15 successful years, you stepped out, created Overstreet Production and Post. What was going through your mind during that leap? Besides the fact I know I have to do this,
It,
you
it
know.
was trusting. It was trusting in God and
Mm,
trusting in the vision that He gave me. And, He'll make it clear. Sometimes we will hesitate to do things and He will force our hand at some point. And, it just became more and more obvious every day.
mm,
And then He affirmed the leap when I got a project immediately. It wasn't like I left and then I had months of no work
mm,
immediately upon, and I didn't know, they didn't tell me they were coming when I made the move.
mm.
But within probably 30 days or less of making the move, I got a project. And I
Wow.
actually, my first project, I literally bought a used computer.
Mm,
I did DIT on set of a project. It was a film that didn't get released until years later. Um, and it was Sons to the Grave, I think it was. Yeah. Starring the kid Jackson. Oh, what's his first name? The kid from
Trevor?
Trevor Jackson. Yes, he was a great actor and a great. He was just a light on the set.
Mm,
And I said to everybody, this kid's going to be a star. And long, but obviously he's a star now as well.
mm.
Sorry for the message coming in, but
No, no
um,
worries.
I literally had one computer. I did the DIT on set, and I took the deposit from that and bought 3 computers and
Mm.
edited the film.
Okay.
And
So now you're using industry terms. We have to avoid this. We got lay people out here. What is the DIT?
so that's basically after you shoot, you dump the files, the cards to into the on another drive.
Okay.
You create dailies for the director to see what they shot every day.
Hmm.
And in some cases, you begin to edit the film or break down the scenes. So we
Hmm.
did that, which led to, okay, now we get a deposit to do the actual work.
Hmm.
And I took that and went and bought the 3 computers to do the work and all of the parts that I needed to do it. So, yeah, so I literally started with nothing, got one computer, and then bought 3 and expanded. And eventually I had 12 suites,
Mm.
2 audio suites, and a 10,000 square foot facility, um, as a result.
Okay. So I was gonna ask you, what did you want to build that didn't exist yet? You just answered the question. You got a 10,000 foot facility, or that was then probably more now. I don't know the advancements. One broken down computer, or not a broken down computer, but one
It was
computer
refurbished.
refurbished.
It was
It
a
was
refurbished Mac from Apple, right? Yeah.
see, and it worked. But I just, yeah, that's exciting. Sorry, I'm getting excited. Just listen to that. I'm like, man, I thought my journey was crazy. This is wild from the corporate structure. Basically a bean counter in the operations department, moving chess pieces and this, that, and the third, and to actually doing the work, grabbing computers yourself, and then investing, reinvesting rather than going and buying $20,000 chain.
Right.
He invested, in 3 other units that he needed to actually do the work. Your first major project, TV1, the original film, and the Rickey Smiley show. So the original film, what was that? Was it Flood?
It was Girlfriend's Getaway too.
Girlfriends. Girlfriends. Yeah. Girlfriends. And
So
then the
that
Rickey
starred
Smiley.
Terry J. Vaughn and Essence Atkins, Michelle Williams, and Garcey. I don't want to butcher her name.
Right.
Garcelle Bouvet, I believe it's pronounced. Forgive
Okay.
me, Garcelle.
So those projects set a really strong tone for you. What did those early wins teach you about navigating the industry as an independent?
It taught me that if you do quality work, you'll get more work, and you're only as good as your reputation. In a small industry, so people in this industry, everybody knows everybody at some point, or you will run into people that you've worked with in the past. And it's imperative that people have a good experience when they work with you,
Mm-hmm.
because trust me, there will come a time where somebody will go, "Oh, I know that person."
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people sweating bullets like, "Oh no, I didn't have a good experience with them." I
Mm-hmm.
always told people treated everyone from the custodian to the CEO the same. And
Mm-hmm.
I would see people who mistreated the interns at Turner, and then 2 years later, they were their boss.
Mm-hmm.
Now they were not approving their spots and giving them a hard time. And they're like, man, I don't know why. And I'm like, well, you kind of treated them like crap when they were your intern. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you weren't very kind to them, and you didn't teach them a whole lot. So I find that, kindness goes a long way. And
Mm-hmm.
if you treat people fairly, you never have to worry about anything coming back.
Soft skills is something else, ain't it?
Yeah.
So we talked about, overcoming, adapting, and being fluid, mentally and in the creative process. You work with networks that each have distinct styles, tones, and expectations. How did you adapt your creative and technical approach to fit the identity of each platform? What key points were you looking at to develop your processes and methodologies for them?
Uh, they each had their unique way of doing things, right? And so you learn your customer, and you learn what makes them tick, or what they expect and like, and then you just act accordingly. You can't have one approach because that won't work with everyone. I
Mm,
never forget, we had one of the VPs at I think it was at TLC, and she would never approve the first cut
mm,
or the second cut. And at one point, the producer got wise, and we all agreed that we were going to name the cut number five.
mm,
And and lo and behold, it got approved. But it was as if she felt like if hadn't been working on this for an extended period of time and gone through several iterations of it, it wasn't ready.
mm,
So you just kind of had to learn what buttons to push. And it was like we would give her cut seven. It would be cut two, right? But um, never being deceptive, but just knowing that, hey, we'll be here for 2 weeks if we give her cut one or two. She's just not going to approve it.
mm,
So that's one example of how we kind of adapted to the client.
mm,
You just always go above and beyond. We always give them more than they expect. We would never be a New York taxi and have the meter running. You can't
mm,
charge people for everything you do. Some things you would just give and say, don't worry about it. We'll do that revision. We'll do that change. We'll do that extra stuff because it's a long-term relationship.
mm,
I've seen people in this industry, especially on the post, try to set precedent, and I would always laugh and say they're going to precedent themselves right out of business,
mm,
because it's like, I got to charge this much and they got to pay that much. And I know they're paying this other bigger company with more resources this much, but you're not that company, right?
mm,
You can't, one, count other people's money, because, sometimes there's an allotted budget all the time for a particular project. There's a particular budget.
mm,
Just because they've got more money doesn't mean that they have more money for this project.
mm, mm,
Oh, you got to be willing to give something. It's a long-term relationship. And sometimes people would overcharge and they go, okay, we'll pay it, but we won't be back.
mm.
And I saw that happen to some of my competitors that were small companies, and they'd call me and be like, "Hey, have they been over lately?" And I'm like, "Yeah, or no, because they've had a mandate from above to bring everything in-house for the last quarter of the year or something." It's like, but
Mhm.
they've spent a lot of money with you throughout the year, so you just gotta survive till they come back. You can't
Right.
call them every day saying, "Hey, why aren't you guys coming?" Like. I learned early in life, you can't let your needs affect your relationship. You can't be pressing other people because you have needs.
Mm.
Um, because it never works.
Can appear desperate,
Right,
as if I'm depending on your pocket for my survival.
right.
You give up your power. In
And nobody wants to be that person, right? They don't want to be that that resource in your life. It's
right.
like if you don't have any other means of revenue or other clients, and I'm solely sustaining you, it's just human nature. People tend to, it's kind of like the salesman in the nice suit and the salesman that whose clothes aren't as polished. The guy in the nice suit is probably sometimes, the least honest, but people continue to go to him because of appearance. Appearance is everything,
Mm.
you know.
So you came up through the corporate world, you've experienced other people's outlets, you started your own, and then a colleague, you just and yourself decided to come together. You partnered with Len Gibson to create Go Media. What made that partnership feel right, and what strengths do you each bring that make the collaboration work?
The partnership felt right because we have been working together. Um, on a per project basis over the years. Him
Hmm.
having a film festival, the Peachtree Village International Film Festival, he would send me people who had great potential in their film, but needed sound design. The color correction wasn't up to par, and he would send them to me. And then if I had a project or a client who I could tell, hey, this is a great project for the film festival, I would send them to him. And in 2019, we decided, you know what, together we're stronger. Let's build an alliance and grow something together. And what it's funny because we are different but similar. We're both people always told us both we were too nice,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
And that was something that we both repeatedly heard. You're too nice, you give too much. And we were both comfortable in that space of giving and
Mm.
not feeling like we were being taken advantage of.
Mm.
And when we came together as Go Media, which is Gibson and Overstreet, we we bring different strengths. I kind of pray like, Lord, you know me, I'm a finisher. I grow businesses. I finish things. And I was like, but I'm not the structural person. I'm not the paperwork person. I do paperwork by default, but I'm like, Len's got an MBA, right?
Mm.
So he's more paperwork oriented. So some of my weaknesses are his strengths and
Uh-huh.
vice versa,
Okay,
right?
that's a good marriage. That's a good marriage. That's a good marriage. Um, so already, Go Media has delivered films, series, and even theatrical hits like Followed, which hit number one in the US. Congratulations. What do
Thank
you
you.
think Go Media does differently when it comes to identifying or shaping projects that resonate with the audience?
Well, I think we've developed the ability to create quality content at a low price point,
Mm.
right? So we don't have to spend absorbent amounts to have a quality product.
Hmm.
And I think that's through his eye of having a film festival and judging so many films over the years, and my eye of doing post-production and finishing so many projects. We know what the finished product should look like at a high level.
Hmm.
And so no matter, but we also have a lot of relationships. So same guys that would be a camera guy on something at Pinewood Studios on a Marvel project, we would have him on an independent project on his off day. You
Mm.
we developed a lot of relationships, which allowed us to do things at a high quality for less. And that's because people enjoyed working with us, and were willing to work for us at a lower price point. And that was extremely helpful.
I like the way you related, being nice to the receptionist, the janitor, the custodian. You know, it just goes back to it's a more elevated way of saying the people that you meet on the way up.
Yeah.
You Okay. So now you've produced everything from features to 50 episode series. What excites you most about building long form television versus single narrative?
I think the thing that excites me most is telling compelling uh, stories that are real, right? We do faith-based content, we do family-friendly content, but we want to do it real. We don't want it to feel bubblegum
Mm,
because life is real, but all of our stories are dynamic and different. But there's an element of if it's a positive story, it's real vanilla, right? It's a vanilla story.
mm,
But I feel like we lose the youth at the door with that. I never forget my daughter who's um, in her early 20s. She would come in the room if I was watching something faith-based, and she'd say, well, what are you watching? What's wrong with it? It's like, is it like an old movie? Is it SD? Like, why does it look that way? And I knew that, a lot of the faith-based content just didn't have the same production value.
mm,
So it's important to put that production value and that storytelling. We often watch stuff with characters we don't necessarily agree with, but the writing is so compelling. The
mm,
cinematography is so compelling,
mm,
that we want to see it. And sometimes as African Americans, we just want to see ourselves on screen.
mm,
So we take it how it comes, and not knocking anyone else, but we try to do stuff that has an uplifting either storyline or at some point it's positive.
mm.
Like when we did our HBCU Battle of the Band show,
Ooh,
it's one of the most incredible experiences hearing those young kids tell their story and how they got there and what town and what city they came from and who they were in their particular city and what landed them on that HBCU campus. That was rewarding,
mm,
extremely rewarding
okay.
to and
So now you're applying all this, you guys have come together and you're applying all this experience to a new platform, dynamic platform, which I've had an opportunity uh, to peruse and watch the content come through. Eventually, I'm gonna have to get some secrets on how to post beautiful, crisp content uh like that. Um, your skill sets, because you're doing it. I say skill sets because I'm getting ready to say, we're gonna talk about your your skill set spans through concept through final delivery. And I because I'm watching, the two preachers on a mission thing, which is an original piece that you're doing through your new platform, JaroGO Media, and the platform. And where do you personally feel the most energized? Like, is it the development, the editing, the creative problem solving, or the final polish of the post?
uh, I would say the most exciting part is the creation process. I mean, the development is great, but seeing it all come to fruition, seeing the takes, when you're on set, and at the end of the day, knowing that, we've gone through, 14, 15 pages of content, and then seeing that when it comes together in post, knowing that often when you're shooting it, not everyone has an eye to see what this is going to become, and seeing that it didn't look like much when you were shooting it, but then when it's edited together and all assembled, um, knowing that the viewing audience would never know some of the things that went on that day, or the problems that may have occurred that you had to solve, We've lost locations and a couple hours before shooting and had to find a new one.
Right.
One of the actors called in sick and you had to replace them. That stuff happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And being a producer is being a problem solver,
Mm-hmm.
being a person of solution, bringing in the right people to fit the right roles, knowing how to assemble the right team is film producing or television producing because you got to have a good fit. You can't have the wrong type personalities in the room together or it won't work. You know, you got to know your director's personality and then work from there. If the director's boisterous, you need other people around them not so boisterous. You know, your director of photography has to be one willing to listen. But if your director is kind of laid back, then you need a first assistant director who's boisterous and a director of photography who's a visionary, right? The director may be more of a person that brings the vision together, but that director of photography often develops the look of the film and the feel and the tones and things of that nature. So it's putting that right team together and then seeing that you've put the right team together to get the results that you were looking for.
And so, okay, as someone who understands both the creative and the technical sides deeply, what do you think filmmakers misunderstand most about post-production? And we're going to get into JaroGO specifically a little bit more. I know that you're the technical guy, and the post-production is a career trajectory that I want to explore, but I'm really excited also about the platform and how these things are applied. But let's stay with the career trajectory part real quick, if you don't mind. Um, what do you wish more people knew before they walked into the edit suite?
I wish more people knew before they walked into the edit suite the importance of the post-production process. Because no matter, without post, you have nothing. You can shoot this beautiful cinematic piece. You can tell this great story, but it's all got to come together.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to, and post-production often is like the forgotten stepchild, right? People they spend majority of them. That's how I started executive producing because people would get to post production and they've run out of money. And I saw an opportunity to help them and help myself. So the businessman in me said, okay, I'll invest in your post production. I'll put up the money. I'll pay my people, but I want a piece of ownership of your product. All right. I want a piece of the IP. And so people often get the post or they think their cousin's brother's nephew can edit the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people get paid to edit for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a gift. It's a different skill set between editors, even. Like
Mm-hmm.
the guy who does the promo trailer and sizzle reel often is not the guy who edits the entire piece. So
Mm-hmm.
people, because that sizzle reel is 90 seconds that they spend 2 weeks on. And in a film, you can't spend 90 seconds on I mean 2 weeks on 90 seconds. You might string together 30 minutes in a week or
Mm-hmm.
two. So it's a different skill set. And I think people don't often realize that. They think that the person, just anybody can cut it, really, and that the video guy can do the audio because there are audio tools in the video stuff, but they're audio mixers for a reason,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's audio software for a reason, and you can't cut corners. You gotta um, pass it off to professionals and let them do what they do.
Indeed. And stay out of their way. Uh,
Yes.
let them go ahead and interpret what you're saying. And I like this term that I learned today. Let them create the visual language that you're delivering for the net. I just like, oh, that sounds so official. A visual language, creating the visual language. That
Yeah,
eh,
that's a good one.
that was a good one. That was a good one. So, Go Media, you continue to grow from 2021 through 2025 with series like 6 Minutes to Glory and Twisted Dish. And then through JaroGO Media, there's an original that you guys are producing right now, which I know that we can't talk a whole lot about because it's in production. But you mentioned something that Len had mentioned about losing a set in the last moment. What have these recent projects taught you about where the industry is heading and where Go Media fits into that future, especially with the new platform that you're bringing forward? And it's okay to talk about this now because this is for the issue. So I'm just trying to capture it so that I can, when we go to the editorial part, I can lay out your thoughts.
Okay.
Repeat the question.
I feel like where Go Media and Jaro Go as a whole are going in the industry and where we fit in is um, technology has allowed more people to create content. And that really fits for JaroGo as a distribution platform. I think we can be a good home to independent filmmakers, and we can produce independent content at a reasonable price point.
Mm,
So unlike a lot of streamers, we plan to create original content from day one. As a matter of fact, we're creating original content now. And what we see is there's a lot of talented people out here, a
mm,
lot of talented people waiting for an opportunity to shine, waiting for an opportunity to do what they do. And what I've learned is the younger generation, they just do it, right? They just they 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 just create content where in times past you had to have a lot of bells, whistles, and tools to create content.
mm,
People are making films with their cell phones now, right? It's not ideal, but it can be done. So it's really about storytelling. It's about the content. It used to be about all of the ancillary things, but now through social media and other platforms, people are used to watching stuff that's not as polished and refined as it once was. Is it a good story? Is it a compelling story? Does it keep my attention? Does it make me want to keep watching? So I see an opportunity to create compelling stories in volume at a reasonable price point because the audience is hungry for content. As they say, content is king. And I think with Jaro Go, we plan to provide opportunities for up and coming filmmakers to have their space to shine and take it directly to the audience and let the people decide.
mm. Okay. I've looked at the platform. One Stop Shop is really the real deal. I mean, you've got creatives, plus you've got the merch, plus you've got the distribution. They can get first count on their money right from, the platform. They're not giving up ownership. Really great and powerful platform. And a lot of people are going direct to consumer now anyway on their own websites or whatever. And did I freeze up?
No, but I'm gonna close my messages because it keeps chiming.
Oh, I'm not hearing it. It's not coming through the audio. So
Okay,
that's
perfect.
that's good. Um, I was saying that, a lot of people are going direct to consumer on their website, but they're not even marketing their website correctly. They're not in touch with the social media and the algorithm and how to actually get the word out. So what I really enjoyed looking at as I'm doing my due diligence with Jarl Go is the promotion is there. It's part of the platform, the ability to network directly with other creatives in different lanes, whether it's post or whether it's a screenwriter or director or whatever, everything's right there. Plus the marketing of the platform includes the creatives that are on it and not as a separate package, but as part of the just basic, here you go, which
Yes.
I thought was really cool. Whose idea was that, and how long did it take you to say, okay, we can do that?
Well, I think it was a collection of Richard, Len, and myself
Mm,
because we created this to be a resource for this, what we call this creator economy that we're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
We,
Mm-hmm.
as a one-stop shop, as we want to be good partners and a resource for creatives.
Mm-hmm.
We want to give them, as you mentioned, multiple verticals, multiple ways to generate revenue on the platform. And one of those is also incorporating them in our market launch strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, as partners, we give them an opportunity to shine and to bring their audience with them. And that's why we actively have our creators participating in the marketing of the platform because who better, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we realize that we feel this is the first platform built for creatives by creatives. But Richardson, MIT, graduate, master engineer who's led several global companies. And so we have an incredible tech team that's a part of our company. And we did that intentionally because we see the pain points of the expense of the technology. And we wanted to eliminate that to assure longevity and success. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of startup apps have come and gone. And what we've identified is they just can't, unless they have a corporate backer or eventually, get bought out, they can't handle the expense of keeping up with the technology and the upgrades and things of that nature. And you've been on the app, so you've seen the user interface, the user experience is second to none. And that was really important for us because you're going to have to be able to play on a level playing field and have the same look and feel that people are accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
People just aren't going to do less. If you're not at the level that they expect and anticipate and have experience, you won't be able to compete. So that was important that we make sure that the technology and that the platform looked like and felt like what they were used to. And we took the good from several different ones and tried to leave out the bad. Not that there's much bad, but we incorporated a lot of the features that people loved about each of the platforms into one. And we hope that will, we don't want to be an and, but an or initially. I mean, not an or, but an and initially. We're not asking people to leave the social media platforms they're on, but incorporate Gyro Go in addition to what they're doing. And by doing so, they will be able to experience Gyro Go, and hopefully by experiencing JaroGo, they'll realize how easy it is to navigate through, how user friendly it is, and want to stay. And for creatives, we've created several different ways to monetize the platform, such as, we're a social media app, and we'll pay at a higher CPM or as high as most or more than most. We're a streaming platform with AVOD capabilities and advertisement video on demand, but we also have transactional TVOD, transactional video on demand, and pay-per-view for new releases and live events. We have unique content that exclusive content that could be through a pay gate. We have pay-per-view events. We can do stream live concerts. We have several different ways that creatives can generate revenue on our platform.
One stop shop. One stop shop.
Can can we pause for 1 second?
Yes, stand by. Three, two.
So, I feel like at Jaro Go, we like to call it an all-in-one ecosystem. It's a full-fledged social media app. It's a streaming platform with video on demand and pay-per-view capabilities. We have exclusive content for just different ways for creatives to generate revenue. We are a gaming platform. We're a podcast channel. We we're we try to be everything that you do on social media in one place. We like to consider ourselves a and not an or. We're not asking that people leave their current platforms, but we feel like they'll enjoy the experience on JaroGo. And once they come, hopefully they'll like it. And I think we can be a resource for many things, and we try to create many ways for creatives in this creative economy, this creator-based economy to generate revenue. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. We're trying to pay at a high CPM. We're trying to have transparency in our distribution. We're trying to be a resource, a true partner. We'll do co-productions. We'll do first look deals. If we have people on the social media platform that do skits, but in their heart they really want to be an actor, well, we'll be doing original programs and original movies, and we'll identify those people and give them opportunities in our films. Or if you're a recording artist and you really want to be an actor, we'll provide those opportunities. We want to be a space where creatives are free to be creatives and not be put in a box. We see people struggle that are really trapped in a situation and they really have other gifts to give. So we want to be that resource, that outlet where that takes a chance. What we saw as a distribution company is that a lot of the companies weren't willing to take a chance on new content or new ideas, or if it didn't check a particular box, it's extremely hard to get opportunities, and we want to provide those opportunities.
Yeah, that's much better than the other one. That was very thorough. That was very thorough. I'll cut that other piece out. Um, oh no, you said send it to you because you're gonna do the post. So I'm gonna send you, Len, you, and Richard's interviews. If you
Oh,
still want to do that. If not, I can just do my little basic. I use film
yeah,
notes.
yeah, no, you can, because I'd rather you cut the content itself. Now, if we want to add some bells and whistles or some graphics or anything of that nature, maybe at that point we step in and help.
Okay. Yeah,
You
no
are
problem.
the you're the editor in chief, right? So
I'm gonna
you
cut it for
this is
editorial.
what you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to step in your lane.
Okay.
We
I'm gonna cut.
respect to the utmost what you do.
I appreciate it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna it really the for the videos for me are the foundational pieces for the actual editorial that I write.
Okay.
So the videos are not the end all say all. They're incorporated into because what I like to do is as I do the editorial and people say, "Well, did I say that?" There's the video right there in at the end of the editorial, so you can see the entire conversation because there's things obviously in the writing that won't be there that we have,
Right.
you know.
Okay.
So it's not a word. I'll make sure to mark that and AI Quill, I need you to remind me to cut out the first iteration of the Jaro description from um, Wayne. Okay. All right. So it'll remind me to do that. Um, and clear that. When looking ahead, you've positioned yourself along with your colleagues at JaroGo uh, at the center of production post, which you can offer up, and distribution. What kind of stories or collaborations are calling you right now that we talked about the two preachers on a mission, and what's fueling this next chapter of your creative journey or your participation in the creative journey?
What we see in this process or the type of content that we're looking for. One, all genres, because we're a streaming platform, but we do resonate with some of the needs, right? Like we love Two Preachers on a Mission because it's a comedy.
Mhm.
We haven't had any good comedies in a few years in, well, I would say African American comedies, right? And we're a general market platform, but this particular story we felt could be like a Fridays.
Mm.
It's one of those that could be a classic that people will watch for years. When we did He Who Findeth, our Christmas film, which we did a few years ago, that became an instant classic that people say, I watch this movie over and over. I'm gonna watch it every Christmas, every holiday. It had strong African American characters depicted in a positive light. No real hardships in that film. Um, because life has enough hardships.
Mm,
So we like to use film as an escape, and we'll do some dramas as well.
mm,
Like we plan to do faith-based. We have a series called Save that we'll be doing, and it's a faith-based empire, if you would. You
mm,
know, it's got a lot of those elements because we want to do it kind of gritty and kind of real. The same things that make you watch content that's not faith-based, we want to incorporate into faith-based content. But just the characters are just positive people, right? But we will do dramas, we'll do everything. But the things that resonate with us are telling stories that depict people in a positive light, that show people, life is real, but it doesn't have to be grimy. It doesn't have to be negative. There's plenty of room for that space, and there's plenty of people creating that content. But our original content will generally be something that three generations can watch.
okay. Okay. So grandparents, parents, and the kids all together can do it and can pass it along to the grandbabies and the great grandbabies. And I love that. You know, you
Yeah.
talk about forever music. There are themes that are forever movies and stories. You know, Mariah
Yes.
Carey can't be the only one that creates something that just lasts forever during the holidays. You know what I mean? It's got to be,
Yeah.
what did I watch? Rest in peace. The Preacher's Wife was one
Right.
that I watched. I was like, wow. And I hated the Hallmark Channel until I saw that film.
Right.
And
Yeah,
I'm
see,
like,
because the writer of He Who Findeth, who happened to be my wife, said, black women need happy endings too,
that's true.
right?
Mhm.
And there were people who asked her to beat up her characters more, to have more hardship throughout the movie. And she's like, in a Hallmark movie, the biggest decision is the drama is she going to go back to her small town and get with her high school sweetheart, or
Mhm.
stay with the executive in New York who may not be as nice of a person, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But there's no one on drugs, there's no alcoholism, there's no real hardships. And they were like, well, the people just won't buy that. And people loved it. And the stars that were in our film have gone on to do some really big stuff. And it really not changed the trajectory of their careers, but it was definitely a boost. And some of them say, of all the movies that I've done 50 movies, and people ask me about this movie more than any other.
Mhm.
And we feel that it's because they got to see them and they shined in the light. They were a positive character, an empowered character. You know, our lead, Brad James, was a billionaire,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And and people got to see him be that billionaire, be that charismatic character, be, our other league, Erica Hubbard, was a self-made woman, a college graduate who had a marketing agency, right? And she was empowered and basically working to secure business from her clients. But it showed people how you have to navigate the business industry, how there's ups and downs, how sometimes there's haters, but you keep your faith, you keep
Mhm.
pushing. It's
Right.
something that's real in our life. But that doesn't often get on screen.
Mhm.
Right. So we want to show the different dynamic characters and dynamic individuals in the world.
Mhm.
And African American because we are, but all people. There's compelling stories of every race, and there's people that overcome and triumph, and we really love those stories. We love sports stories. We love all stories. Like the story we just did, that's will be one of our first pay-per-view releases called Baltimore Hustle
Yeah.
with Cam Studios, a partner of ours. It's about Baltimore and the hustle, but you think The Wire, but it's not.
Mm,
It's about, overcoming those things and
mm,
avoiding the obstacles, and about the single mom and, her hardships, and athletes who are trying to avoid their old friends in the hood, and different things that are real in our world, right?
mhm.
So we enjoy telling those type stories.
Making the change and staying in the change, not digressing.
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, powerful stories. Wayne, thank you. You've been very patient with me. I appreciate it. Is there anything you wanted to cover that I may have neglected?
While there's plenty of content creators and influencers that are really making an impact, we see that there are many more that haven't been given the opportunity. And we'd like to provide that opportunity, be a true partner, allow creatives to be creatives, and to give them a platform to shine, being a true partner, really investing in the people on the platform and recognizing um, stars in the making, and kind of collaborating with them, pulling them under our wing, if you would, and catching them early and helping to guide their career. We just don't want to just be the platform that they're on. We want to be a platform and a partner, and that's really important for us. So we plan to do just that, to tap into the talented pool of creatives that are out there, and there's so many people out there creating, but they're kind of on an island trying to figure it out, trying to figure out, how do I do it? How often do I pose? What's going to separate me and set me apart from the crowd? And we're going to try to identify those people with that potential and make an investment in them and in their careers. We identified the pain points,
Okay.
and we tried to address them in what we did with JaroGo. What Go Media and what Jaro Go tries to identify when shaping content is creating content that resonates with multiple audiences, content that, when possible, is edifying and uplifting, content that is done at a high quality, high quality videography, high quality sound, great scores, music scores, um, identifying young and up and coming talent as far as actors, giving opportunity for seasoned veterans that may not get as much work in Hollywood as they should. We plan to bring all of those elements together in our original content and creating pieces that resonate with three generations. In 2019, Len Gibson and myself came together to form Go Media, which stands for Gibson and Overstreet. We figure if your initials spell go, then you go with it, right? If not, we would have been OG Media, which didn't quite have the same connotation. Um, but the thing that brought us together was our passion for helping filmmakers, one, for doing things the right way, for doing things in a way that we always felt that you didn't have to, you could have fun and be creative and create quality content, while doing things ethically correctly, doing your business correctly, making money, having fun, everybody happy at the end of the day. On our sets, nobody's yelling at anyone. Everyone is treating everyone respectful. People often say to us, "This is the most fun I've had making a film or a television show." And we kind of pride ourselves in that. And we knew we both felt that way and were passionate about bringing that to the table. We both knew that we felt you could be nice and still be successful. And we were passionate about training up the next generation of filmmakers and showing them that you can do things the right way. Because often, people, I often say we are what we eat. And people were really only eating from the negative side of the menu. And we try to be the positive side of the menu and show people that you can do things, you can be nice and finish first. I just wanted to say, thank you, Jerry. Thank you to Hype Magazine for being willing to come and to have this interview and to share our story with the world. You know, we really don't take it lightly. We appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate the platform and the forum that you're providing. We know that this will be a tremendous help and blessing to JaroGO. We feel like your audience will truly having you sign off on what we're doing, you know, that means the world to us. So kudos to you for what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. Um, keep being at the forefront of your industry, and you will continue to shine. So thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
And thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm excited to be a part of the journey, and I'm definitely looking forward to 2026. This is going to be one hell of a ride. Yes, sir. I
Yes,
appreciate you.
sir.
Thank you for the trust.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate you. All
All
right.
right, everybody. That's it for the live session. Mr. Wayne Overstreet, Jaro Go.